Hey everyone, I thought you might be interested in why Bitcoin's price is not moving very much in spite of all the positive news and institutional adoption and all of that. And so, I read multiple hours of Bitcoin news literally every single day, keep up on Bitcoin Twitter, which is now Bitcoin X. I do all of those things because obviously I've got, 96% of my liquid net worth in Bitcoin. And so I like to keep up with everything happening in the world of Bitcoin. So there's a massive major shift happening underway over the last number of months of the shifting of Bitcoin from weak hands to strong hands. So what is a weak hand? A weak hand is somebody who holds their Bitcoin weakly. Weakly as in without strength. They typically are people that don't understand Bitcoin. They don't really understand why they have it. They don't understand the power of the asset class. And they mainly own Bitcoin because at one point in time, a few months ago, back in March, it was going up, and it was exciting to buy something going up because they thought they were going to get rich quick, and now it's been a few months, and they're getting bored, and they're letting go of their Bitcoin. So, meanwhile, and as opposed to strong hands are people who understand why they own Bitcoin, the power of the technology, and that understand that the price always eventually goes up. So how does that shift happen? Well, back in the, more exciting days of, let's call it January, actually between the middle January and middle of February, the price, went through a dip. So that was not exciting, but that was only like a month. And then between, February to the middle of March, the price set a new all-time high. And so there was a lot of euphoric buying of people who were positive that they were geniuses and were about to get rich. And of course, investment involves, lots of patience. So anyway, with the Bitcoin ETFs that were approved on January 10th, and even since the all-time high that was set for the Bitcoin's price on March 14, there's been a lot of rotation from weak hands to strong hands. So what that looks like is people that own Bitcoin that are not really sure why they own the Bitcoin. They don't understand the power of Bitcoin, and they, own it for whatever reason. They are selling that Bitcoin, and that Bitcoin is being categorically bought up by strong hands, which are people that understand why they're buying, and they're buying it at a discount right now. So, for example, Germany dumped $3 billion of Bitcoin on the marketplace, and it had a, pretty modest impact on the price, and the marketplace absorbed that $3 billion moving from weak hands, the country of Germany, to strong hands, which were all the people that were buying in spite of the price dip. Or because of the price dip, which are typically when smart people buy, is they're buying when, it's not exciting, because you make a lot more money on an asset if you buy when it's not exciting than when it's all euphoric. Although in the long term, Bitcoin is such a great investment that it ends up not mattering that much when you bought, as long as you hold on to it. But anyway, so Germany dumped $3 billion of Bitcoin. Mt. Gox, and that was Bitcoin that they had confiscated back in 2013, so 11 years ago. Mt. Gox redistributed $9 billion to creditors back from an exchange hack that happened in 2014, which was 10 years ago. And I think of that $9 billion, I think they still are distributing the final $2 billion. So again, some of the people who have been waiting for 10 years to get that Bitcoin back are selling it. Again, weak hands, and that is going to moving to stronger hands. The U.S. government, as best as I can tell, has been selling some of their Bitcoin stash, with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris trying to sell the Bitcoin stash before Donald Trump could turn it into a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Best as I can tell, there's been relatively little selling, but it's not clear if it's no selling or just a little selling. And then on top of that, there's still leftover bankruptcies from, I don't know if it was Celsius. I saw, another of the sort of crypto blowups from 2022 was still selling some Bitcoin. So on top of that, you have all of the board, what do you call it? The board tourists, I guess would be the term. The board tourists who own Bitcoin. They're not sure why they own Bitcoin. They want it to be exciting, and it hadn't been exciting for a few months, and they're starting to sell their Bitcoin. So this is sort of similar to the sort of people that show up at a zoo. If you're a bird watcher and you show up at a zoo and you walk past the birds, you're probably going to stand there a nice long time because you appreciate the birds themselves. As opposed to if you are a random tourist at a zoo and you walk past the bird cage and the birds are just sitting there, it takes about 30 seconds for you to get bored and move on to another more exciting animal. So same with Bitcoin. The longer people own it where it hasn't done something exciting, the more likely they are to sell it and buy something that feels to them like it's more exciting. Now, in the long term, that's a bad way of investing, because of what it means is you're always moving to the exciting asset, which is the one that's usually topping out. So, for example, there was a bunch of people that piled in to NVIDIA back when it was a $3 trillion company, and now it's, the value dropped to $2 trillion, and now it's recovered some of that. But, the best time to buy NVIDIA was not when it was a $3 trillion company, it was years ago. But the people who were all excited about its perpetual upward motion tend to jump in at the end of the party right before it goes away. So there's just been a huge rotation from weak hands to strong hands over the last few months, and it's amazing how resilient Bitcoin is, still sitting there at about $59,000 to $60,000 a coin, in spite of having to absorb many billions of dollars of sell pressure by a combination of the German government, creditors to Mt. Gox, a little bit possibly from the U.S. government, some other sort of blown up crypto funds that have had to liquidate assets. And on top of that, too many tourists that jumped in near the high of Bitcoin that are now having to, that are now rotating into other assets, which of course makes no sense, but, humans are humans. And then one last thing I'll say is, on that front, is, it was a thought, let me see if I can remember it, had to do with, the other thing is people are getting squeezed, right? So inflation is still, 3% a year. And that's on top of the huge price increases of 20, 25, 30% in cost of living over the last few years. So one thing that squeezes people is when the economy is starting to really struggle, people try to find liquidity. And any asset they own that they could sell in order to save their houses or keep from defaulting on, credit cards or car loans or getting their car repossessed or whatever, people will sell just about any asset they have to keep bad things from happening. So that is also going on as well. A lot of people are struggling. A lot of people are having a hard time. And so what do you do when you're having a hard time? Well, you sell anything that's liquid, and you may not want to sell it. In fact, Bitcoin may be your most precious possession, but if the alternative is losing the roof over your head or losing your transportation to work, well, then you end up having to part with your most precious possession. So some people are getting forced out of Bitcoin because they've got living expenses they can't afford, or a cost of living that's above their means, or because they took on debt that they couldn't really afford, or because they had to refinance at a higher rate, a bunch of different reasons. So what does this mean for the long term? Well, what it means for the long term is now is a fantastic time to buy Bitcoin. Once the price starts to take off, it will likely take off very quickly. And I know, because I can hear the people already in my head, because I know in real life they're going to be telling me, wow, when Bitcoin suddenly goes from 60,000 a coin to 80, 90, 100, 120,000 a coin, there's a bunch of people that are going to be telling me, wow, Joel, I really wish I had bought more. And again, my response, which I will not say, is, well, dang it, as of today, you've had 5 months. You have had 5 months to buy Bitcoin since the last all-time high. 5 solid months. And for most of those 5 months, Bitcoin's been bouncing between, call it 55,000 and 68,000, which was a 6,000 to significantly more discount as compared to the all-time high. So, my advice is the same as always, which is buy as much Bitcoin as you possibly can, sit on it as long as conceivably possible, and now's a fantastic time to do that. And I know as soon as the price goes way up, a bunch of people that are sitting and watching are suddenly going to start buying Bitcoin at 80,000, 90,000, 100,000 a coin that they could be buying right now for 60,000 a coin. And it just makes way more sense for you and everybody else to buy as much Bitcoin at 60,000 a coin as you possibly can, rather than to wait for it to be exciting again, because I promise it will be. I've been here long enough since 2017 that I could promise you it's going to be euphoric at some point. And the question is, how much Bitcoin are you going to own before it's euphoric? Or are you going to be one of the people who's buying it in the euphoria, which is not bad. In the long term, it's a great investment regardless, but it could be a great investment that's up an additional 30, 40, 50% for you if you're buying it now at 60,000 instead of 50% higher at 90,000. And wouldn't it be great if capital in Bitcoin, at $90,000 already has a built-in 50% price increase, as opposed to you're buying Bitcoin at 90,000 and you miss out on that first 50% increase from 60 to 90,000. So I'm here if there's anything I can do to help you on your Bitcoin journey. Always a reminder on scams. There's scams everywhere. Always assume that anyone who calls you telling you there's been fraudulent charges on any account, Coinbase, Wells Fargo, your bank account, always assume that anybody reaching out to you that claims that they're checking to see if there's fraudulent charges, you need to go check your app on your phone that is unrelated to that person to check for fraudulent charges. So just a reminder on the tail end of everything else I've covered on this video, be on the lookout for scams. Scammers are everywhere, and their favorite tool is to tell you you've been hacked, or to tell you that you've been, there's been fraudulent charges, or to tell you that they're with the tech support group and they, need your help securing your account. Just if anybody proactively reaches out to you, be very suspicious. And when you reach out to your bank or to Coinbase or anybody else, make sure you do it from within the mobile app. Do not do it based on links you saw on an ad on a website or Facebook or anywhere else. Only call phone numbers that are embedded in the official website of your provider or embedded in their official mobile app. Do not trust any other phone numbers or anything else that comes up anywhere else, because everything else is almost certainly a scam. So here to help with anything you need. Hopefully the little scam alert helps on the end of everything else. And in the meantime, just acquire as much Bitcoin as you can. And the fun times will start again any day now. I don't know when. Nobody knows when, but the euphoria will return, because it always does. And that's what Bitcoin always has in store for everyone who's patient. So have a great day. Appreciate it.